Hi guys, and welcome back to I didn't even check, I think it's like 80-ish episode of the Junkie podcast. I'm coming to you, my name is Amber. I'm coming to you from my home in Texas where I live with my husband and our 3 daughters and 3 dogs. And it's been a while since we've seen an appearance from Lucy, and she had to come say hi when she heard me talking. So this is my Mastiff Lucy. She is 8 years old now. Gosh. And we've had her since she was 4 months old. Haven't we? She's my best friend. But she is huge. So I'm going to try to get her to go without bumping the ottoman that the camera's sitting on. Go. Go lay down. Over here. Come over here and lay down right here. That's a good girl. That's a good girl. Okay. So if you do hear... Oh, I knew she was going to bump the camera. So sorry. She's huge. And now she's like wiggling her whole body against. Go. Be still. She's still wiggling her tail. Anyway, if you do hear some background noise, I do have my little baby toddler eating her breakfast. I tried to get up early enough to get this done without her waking up, but you know, life. I slept in. I'm tired. We've been having all the adventures due to the COVID, so I guess I'll get into that later. I've really only been working on 2 things, but I wanted to jump on and show you. If you do care about finding me on other places in the internet world, I am on Ravelry as Yarn Junkie 6, and there is a Yarn Junkie podcast group that I literally never post in, but it's there. I should do knit-alongs. One of my friends, I should do this summer, I think. I'm going to get my app together in May and announce it. So keep your ears out if you're a Jinx Yarn fan, because on one of my last podcast episodes, my friend Melody Crochet actually suggested that we do a Jinx along since I have so much Jinx yarn. She's not dying anymore, but you can still sometimes get her yarn from D-stashes, or if you have a stash of Jinx yarn that you want to work through. I'm going to host a Jinx along probably over the summer and do like Socks of Summer Jinx along. Lucy, stop. And so if that's something that interests you, thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know. I just thought that would be a lot of fun to be able to host that, and I'm going to reach out to Melody. I just saw her comment. I'm really bad about reading the comments. I usually do it right before I record the next episode. But I think that was like from 2 podcasts ago. So I really need to reach out and message her. And if you haven't checked out her podcast, definitely do so. Melody Crochet is the podcast name, I believe. And she's a prolific maker. She's a crocheter, a knitter. I think she even does other crafts. I know she has a son. And she's a fellow Texas person. So hi. Like my thumb's blue from the baby. Nothing is safe. So I have been pretty solidly working on, I'm going to pause it and get rid of her. Hang on. Oh, you're going to eat him? Okay. So I'm back. Sorry about that. Got rid of the dog. Put her outside. So I've been solidly working on 2 projects pretty much since I last sat down and spoke with you guys. I can't even remember what I was working on last time. I think I had just finished up several things. And so I was showing y'all some finished objects on the last episode. And since then, I had started my little toddler a Pinguino by Stephen West. And he did a Pinguino, which is an adult jacket. And then he re-released the pattern, I think last year, to encompass those smaller sizes, and re-released it as like the Pinguino, which is so cute. I'd actually seen someone I follow on Instagram, I can't even think of their handle, but she had made her little boy a very beautiful fall-esque, like browns and oranges and greens Pinguino, and I was blown away. And I immediately went stash diving and found yarns to make myself a Pinguino, and then also kind of rummaged around and tried to find yarns that would work for the baby one as well. And she has this scrappy jacket. I wish I would have thought to bring it. I think it's already out in storage for the stuff that's too small for her. But she has this store-bought cardigan. I think I've showed it on the podcast before. That was like garter stitch and, you know, just different colors of yarn. It was store-bought, I said that. So like not handmade at all. But it looked, you know, it was knit, so machine knit. So beautiful, so scrappy, and like had this halo, like it had mohair in it. It was beautiful. It looked like a knitter made it. And I really wanted to recreate that jacket myself for her. And so I was really inspired by that color palette specifically because it was very, you know, pinks and blues and like very pastel-y, and that's normally not my color palette. I'm a very jewel tone person, very rich saturated colors or neutral colors, not at all pastels. But this just, oh my gosh, it is the best thing ever. And it is so pastel in all of these different colors. And so yeah, when I picked this up a couple of weeks ago, all I had knit was this back section with these welts and then these two side pieces on each side. And the construction is so interesting. This is probably the most adventurous thing I've ever knit, but also so easy. Like if you were a beginner, you could definitely do this. Stephen West's patterns are written out so well. He explains everything that you need to do. It's not hard to figure it out. And a lot of his stuff has videos as well. I'm not sure if he has any videos for this pattern specifically, but I know that he has a lot of videos to support his patterns, which I love when designers take that extra step to like say, okay, this is how I do it. So you just know that you're doing it right. But anyway, I kind of just tossed all of my scraps in this big, my husband lovingly referred to this as my catfish bucket. We went somewhere together this week. I'll probably get into that later. And I carried this, and he had a friend years and years ago that he used to go fishing with, and this particular friend would carry around this catfish bucket full of all this stuff that he needed. But he was lovingly making fun of me, but still making fun of me about my catfish bucket that I'm carrying around full of my knitting treasures. So you can see it's a very like pastel, soft tones. My small tangent, guys. Like I said, I've been carrying this around with all my stuff in it, but it's crazy to me, this whole pandemic. The fact that I bought a little pack of 1-2 count of N95 masks back in January for dyeing yarn. And I mean, I just went to, you know, where was I? I think I was at Walmart, to like the hardware department, and scooped them off the shelf. You cannot find these anywhere. These are like so rare now. And it's just, you know what I mean? That's just so bizarre to me what's going on. And I know that we're all sick of hearing and talking about that, but I just had to say that because luckily I had those. My husband had been using the other one that I had, the spare one, and he actually ended up finding a cloth face mask somewhere and buying it, and he's been using that too, so he has one in each of the cars that he drives. Crazy times, right guys? Crazy times. I don't wear one as much because I just don't know. I'm not going to get into it. I love you guys. Y'all don't want to hear my thoughts on COVID. Y'all want to hear my thoughts on this knitting project. So, let me take a sip. I'm drinking delicious coffee. And, so this project, he explains it so well. I really wanted my catfish bucket knitting, right? I really wanted this pastel with a white mohair. And I will say something about the mohair. This was a commercial mohair. I don't think I have the ball band. Lang Yarns mohair. I'm almost certain that was what it was. And the price point was $18 for about 300 and some odd yards. I want to say 330 something yards. Now that's a pretty fair or a pretty reasonable price point for mohair, especially considering when hand-dyed mohair can run you, I have one here, $29 for this hand-dyed Chasing Rabbits Fiber Co. mohair. And then this was $18. Now this Chasing Rabbits mohair is 460 yards, which is a ton. And so, but it's a $10 price point. And so when you're considering holding this together with an already hand-dyed yarn in a garment that you're having to, you know, buy multiple of these, it is a much more reasonable thing to, or a much more budget-friendly yarn than, you know, something like this. But this is what I will say about it. There is a difference in quality between the two. The hand, so both of these, I am working up a second Pinguino too. But so both of these yarns, or both of these garments are knit in hand-dyed yarns of scrappy varieties. So all different hand-dyed yarns. The only difference is I'm holding a commercial mohair with a hand-dyed mohair. So this is the one that was done with the commercial mohair, and it does have a halo. Definitely, let me see, camera angle wise, there we go. But the hand to the mohair is different than the hand-dyed mohair. Just a second, I'll get you out, okay? 1 second. So the hand-dyed mohair has a it's much more a silky feeling, and I did look at the percentages, and I wish I would have kept the ball band to the Lang. I want to say the Lang was like 50% mohair and then like 40% silk, whereas the Chasing Fibers is 70% mohair and 30% silk. And I do know that silk can add, even though silk is silky, it can add that matte feeling to stuff. So I wonder if that's what's going on here with that higher silk content. But it is different, you know, so that is something to consider when planning a project and buying yarn, especially when you want to do a budget mohair. And I haven't tried Knit Picks mohair, but I would like to see how it compares as well, because I do like adding mohair to things, but it is not cost effective to, you know, buy mohair for all of the projects. So I had, like I said, I picked up this project. I just had this back section done, and I mean, I went to town. This has been my security blanket knitting pretty much all of April for the COVID, and it is such an adventure to knit. So like I was saying, you do this back panel, and then you pick up and knit welts, and then you do a little back piece on each side, and then you do a front piece, and then you do the front piece on the other side, and then you pick up and knit the sleeves, and then you do all these underarm things, which is crazy. The way the construction is insane. You guys will have to buy the pattern, but I really, like I said, it was just an adventure in knitting. All of the yarns, I won't go through all of them since there's so many in this project, but they were all just scraps that I had. And I really considered doing this berry as my I-cord bind off, and it would have really brought, you know, all of this together. But, you know, it's a West knit. I had to go crazy. I had to go like Edison bulb, and that's one of his like favorite pops of color to use. I just had to do that, and I love it. It's so wild. And of course, you know, I have 40 million thousand ends to weave in. But I'm so motivated to weave these ends in, because as soon as I got this done, I put it on the baby, and she was just walking around with it and wearing it, and you know, she loves it. It's so cozy. She like crinkles up this part of it and like holds it in her hands as she's wearing it, so she looks like she's all like cozy and sweet. So she definitely is knit worthy, and I'm going to get these ends woven in. So it does also suggest adding a toggle, and I originally wasn't going to do that, but seeing how big it is on her, I knit the size. He's got it broken down into, you can use a couple of different weights, and then there's 3 sizes based off of each weight you use. So I used fingering weight held double on a size 8 needle, and I did the toddler 2 pattern, which is 2 to 4 years old, and it will definitely fit her until she is 4 years old. I did think about doing the sleeves longer. The sleeves end right beyond her elbow, but then I was considering how gross small babies are and how the ends of their sleeves are always disgusting in the winter, and so I just thought it would be cuter to be able to like knit her wrist warmers or maybe even gloves, and just to leave this, you know, because she'll wear long sleeves, to leave this shorter so it doesn't get all, you know, gross on the end. I will say this yarn that I popped in just right here, this white, is from the coming home outfit I knit her. So that was a lot of fun to be able to use that, and I think I'm going to save this and put it into a special blanket. So I have it because I knit her like a little onesie to bring her home from the hospital in, and I love that I put that in there. But yeah, so that is all I have to say about that. It was such a fun project. I highly, highly, highly recommend this if you have a little toddler in your life. It is so much fun. Even having to weave in these ends, I totally don't even mind. And I was actually, while I was working on a lot of this, I was knitting on mine at the same time. So I have, mine is a very spooky-esque Pinguino. So there's a lot of my colors, very witchy vibes, purples and browns and greens and oranges. This is one of my favorite colors I've used in the entire project. This is a Madeline Tosh. I cannot remember the name of it. I bought it 4 summers ago, I want to say. This is another one of my favorites. This is going to be my sleeves. I haven't gotten to that part yet. And this is a Mitchell Yarn Co. I'm not sure. I hate that. I don't remember. I got this in a swap from a yarn dyer, and I really love this, and I'd been waiting for the perfect project to put this in. But here is, sorry, let me take another sip. So here is my beautiful Pinguino. So this is my back section, and then my welts are very witchy, like acid green, pinky orange, and purple. These are all like one-off, one-of-a-kind colorways. So this section here, I'm gonna have to do some sweater surgery and take it out. I've been holding fingering weight double. Actually, one of these yarns is a worsted weight. This is a sport weight that I held double thinking I needed to, and I probably could have just held it single, but now I'm thinking I'm gonna go through and take that out and not use that bright color anyway. I thought it would be fun because it's just, again, for this section here would be orange on mine, and then this would be orange. But I didn't want this to be orange. I thought it was gonna throw off everything, so I'm gonna change it up and not use that after all. But the way this is knit is, so you knit this, you pick up, you knit your welts, and then you have this section where you're only knitting back and forth on a few welts, and then you cast on stitches, and then you're knitting back and forth, picking up stitches, and then you pick up stitches here and then knit this. So I'm going to have to do some trickery on sweater surgery, maybe go in here with a darning needle and pick up these live stitches and then just take this out, and as I do, to pick up these stitches, if that makes sense, and then re-knit this piece while knitting that section together. I'll have to get creative with it for sure, but once this section is picked up, you knit this, and then you add, and then you knit this is the front, and then it all gets connected on the shoulder, but I've still got to knit this other front section before I can do this shoulder and sleeve. And then you do the bottom. It's so crazy, isn't it? I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Even having just finished that other sweater, I really want to start in on this. Look at all those ends. Oh, dear Lord. But yes, so I was saying I really love this mohair. It is so beautifully saturated. Isn't that crazy? I love that. And it brings out a lot of the other colors for my project. A lot of these other colors I'm using have hints of purple in them. So it's just making a very cohesive, see these two. But yeah, loving it, loving it. Highly recommend. Oh, and I was going to add this as my I-cord bind off. I don't know, but I'm kind of feeling it. This is a Once Upon a Corgi because pumpkin spice yarn that I've had in the stash for ages and ages. And I just watched The Tiger King, which I'm sure a lot of you have as well. My husband didn't like it. He just said it was trash TV. I love true crime TV anyway, and I really looked at it as this whole like murder mystery plot because that's what it is. And so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the cast of characters. The truth is stranger than fiction at times, and so documentaries really, I enjoy watching them. So as a nod to that, because I did work on my sweater quite a bit while watching Joe Exotic and The Tiger King, I thought how perfect would it be to do my I-cord bind off in this wild yarn. And this isn't Tiger King inspired. I said it was because pumpkin spice, right? Yes, that's the name of the yarn, Because Pumpkin Spice by Once Upon a Corgi. And this knits up beautifully. I've seen it knit up, and it's kind of like a micro stripe almost if you do it on mitts or socks. Yeah, so that's all I've been working on. I have a little bit of work. I have put in a little bit of work, words, use them, in on a couple of pairs of socks, but I've shown you guys those socks before, so I didn't want to drag them over. They're not finished. But yeah, when I was getting sick of those, I would just sit and knit socks for just a bit, and I have almost 2 finished pairs of socks at this point. So that's working down my sock whip stash. I completely overhauled my entire stash and rearranged stuff and earmarked stuff for casting on this year versus putting it out in long-term storage, and then even downsizing some of my stash and getting rid of stuff that I wasn't going to use, or my taste have changed, you know. And so that's felt really, really good. My house has never been so organized. I've kind of annoyed all the rest of my family with it because I've like moved furniture around, I've like vacuumed under things, I've cleaned out like closets, and they're like, Mom, it's enough, it's enough. But you know, it's not clean unless it's quarantine clean. That's my new thing. I know, I'm ridiculous. So Tim and I actually had our wedding anniversary this past week. We celebrated 16 years married. Isn't that insane? I know, we're babies still to a lot of people out there, but it's a lifetime and yesterday all at the same time. So 16 years is like, wow, that's 16 years. And then it's like, but my oldest was just my youngest's age, so time is relative. But we did have a trip planned to Washington State. We were going to go camping. It was going to be amazing. We have an REI credit card that we use for points. And so every year we get like a dividend to be able to spend free money at REI basically with our points. And we upped some of our camping equipment for more cold weather type stuff. And I was so excited to be able to like go out and use it and just be somewhere different with huge trees. We don't have trees like that here. Yeah, I just was so pumped about going to Washington, and COVID just crushed my dreams. So it's a postponed trip at this point. It's not canceled. We did have to cancel our flights and hotel. We had a hotel planned for when we arrived and then when we left, because he had like city stuff planned for 2 days, and then we were camping for 4 days. I'm so sad, y'all. But instead, I'm actually going to have to give her out one sec. Now we're joined by Tabitha, my 2-year-old. She's got a messy face because she just got done with breakfast. So we, instead of doing that, we were just going to do a camping trip out here locally. But he had some meetings in Dallas this week, and we stayed in a hotel, because hotels, you can still stay in hotels. Practiced social distancing and went and stayed in a hotel, which was really great because we got food delivery. If you've been watching a while, you know I live out in the boonies. There is no food delivery available here. Even our local restaurants are not, you know, we don't have sushi or anything super good that's like an hour away plus. And so that was definitely a treat to be able to go into town and eat dinner. Even if it was, you know, just sitting in the hotel watching HGTV eating sushi. What a great 16-year anniversary date. Hey man, COVID. But the next morning we got up and I actually got to eat Einstein Bagels, which is a place that I love. I don't know how big of a franchise that is. I would assume pretty big. They're all over down here. I say all over, they're in the city, not out here. But that is where I got my delicious coffee. I really love their French vanilla or French hazelnut. Vanilla hazelnut, I think is what it's called. Vanilla hazelnut coffee from Einstein is some of my favorites. But it is not cheap. I think for a bag it's, I can't remember. I want to say it's almost $20. Maybe a little bit cheaper, maybe like $15. But still, for a bag of coffee, that's not inexpensive. And so my personal hack is to get like Folgers brand. I've used Great Value brand, and I've also done Dunkin' Donuts brand, because all of those are around about $7 a bag down to $5 a bag of coffee. So I get the vanilla flavor and the hazelnut flavor, and then I mix it myself, and it's cheaper. It's not as good, but it's definitely similar, and it's delicious. And so if you like flavored coffees, give that a shot. Mix vanilla and hazelnut into the same brew. It's delicious. I don't drink creamers or anything in my coffee because I found out years ago I was lactose intolerant. Years and years ago, to the point where almond milk wasn't really a popular thing, and so almond creamers were not a thing. Now you can find stuff like that, but I've gotten to the point where I just don't like cream in my coffee. There's a hint of sugar in here, and that's it. That's my coffee. I don't know why you guys wanted to hear about that. Everyone always talks about their coffee though, so I'm in good form. The baby is being so snuggly. Yeah, so that's all we've been up to. The girls have been doing at-home learning. That's a struggle for me. I'm just not the best computer person. Atrella's handling everything that she's supposed to do all on her own. She's my 14-year-old. She's in 8th grade. She is hitting all of her Google assignments. She's going into all of the web things she needs to and doing her assignments. I've gotten emails from almost all of her teachers giving her a thumbs up and telling her wonderful job about keeping up with your work. So that's amazing that I don't have to worry about her. She's so studious just on her own. I'm very grateful. Prudence is struggling a little bit more. She's really great about getting up and doing her math and wanting to do her math, but then it's a struggle to get her to do her reading and then writing. It's not the reading that's the problem, it's having to write sentences. It's like, I saw a silly meme the other day that said, y'all pray for my 8-year-old. He has to write 3 sentences, and the struggle is real. We will sit there for over an hour, sometimes more than that, to get her to do the work. And then there's the, because she's 9, I have to physically be the one to sit at the computer and take pictures of the assignments, upload them into the Google Classroom, and it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm not complaining. I know people have it far worse than me. We all have our struggles during this COVID. We're doing the best we can. So I hope that wherever you are getting lots of fresh air. We've been going on all of the walks, all of the hikes. We are actually putting in a garden, so I'm super excited about that. I'd been wanting to do one, but we're kind of iffy about how much longer we're going to stay in this house because it is so small. When we bought this house, we were not planning on this baby, and we have had her, and my husband is he wants a bigger house. And so the garden thing has been kind of something I've been wanting to do, but at the same time, I don't want to invest a lot more in this property if we're going to leave it. But he made the fair point of, you know, we're going to be here at least a couple more years and we need to take full advantage of where we're at and what we're doing. And gardening brings me a lot of joy. I do like indoor plants, but I love being outside and growing things outside. And yeah, so we had started the process this week of putting in our food garden. It is late. I know I am late into the season for this, but hopefully we can have a good output regardless. And so I've been trying to get chickens too. That's been a horror show only because I want to make it so difficult on myself. I wanted a certain coop and Tractor Supply discontinued, or, you know, didn't really discontinue, but they don't have them online and they're not rolling out any of the new coops for this year because of the COVID. That's the reason they're using, but they didn't have any coops before the COVID was an issue. So I'm not sure, they're just using that as an excuse now. But they said that my best bet is to wait till fall to get the coop I want. And I've called every Tractor Supply within like 500 miles of my house, trying to see if anyone had like one on the back shelf or something. And I've looked at others online. I wanted a specific coop because I want a certain amount of birds. And my husband doesn't have the time, tools, abilities. He has the abilities, just no time or tools to build the chicken coop I want. So we were going to do an order online type situation. Like you guys care about hearing this. In addition to not being able to get the coop I want, I'm not happy with just going to Tractor Supply and getting any old chickens. I want certain chickens because I want certain eggs. I want the blue egg layers and the green egg layers. They're called Easter eggers, but there's a couple of different varieties. And then, so I just want, if I'm going to keep chickens, which I did love keeping chickens, I want that little extra bit of having that beautiful egg to go collect every day. And so I went online to the place to order the special chickens, and I'm looking at September before I can get my order of chickens. And again, you can find the ones that lay the different colored eggs sometimes at your local farm and supply stores, but usually the people who those chickens are desirable. And so the people who are there all the time, the farmers, the, you know, whatevers that go in weekly to these stores are the ones that get those chickens. They don't hold them. You can call up there and say, you know, I'm out here. Can you please hold chickens? They won't. They'll sell them, and it's just really hard to find those unless you order them. So all of that to say, I have the want to get chickens. I just am being difficult about it. And yeah, so we're dragging our heels, and maybe by fall we'll have the chickens we want and the coop we want, but we'll have to see. But that's for sure all I have. The garden, the girls have just, like I said, been doing school stuff, and we've been taking hikes and walks, and I've been posting pictures on my personal Instagram, which is 3@3lassies, and then my yarn Instagram,